So, you're still using tampons or pads, huh? I get it. I mean, they've been around for decades. But you know what else has been around for a lot longer? Innovation, buddy. You can stick with hygiene products from your grandma's era, or you can ditch the tampons and switch to Femi Secret's Pretty Panty. It's period protection that you wear, but the innovation doesn't stop there. Chemical-free, biodegradable, and FDA approved. But ooh, there's more bitches. For $9 a month, we send you a box of Pretty Panties right to your door so that you always have protection. Protected! Stop wasting time. Subscribe today and get your ultimate period protection with Femi Secret's Pretty Panty.
Welcome to ASAP Elite. Integrity, work ethic, discipline, dedication, and leadership are just a mere handful of core values that it takes to go from undrafted to all-pro, Pro Bowler, and ultimately New Orleans Saints Hall of Famer. Our next guest is not just the pride of Riverside, but also one of the most awesome big cousins in the world. Please welcome Rubidoux High School's own Sammy Knight.
What's up, man?
What's going on, fam? You doing all right?
I'm doing good, bro. How y'all doing?
Pretty
well,
good,
doing well.
Thanks for joining us, brother. All right, let's get going, man. Can you do our audience the honor of introducing yourself, explaining how you were introduced to football up until it was time that you decided it was time to hang up the cleats?
You know what? I was introduced to football by my family. You know, my older brother Ryan was a very highly touted high school player, college player, and you know, he was really the first one to introduce me to football. Him and also my brother Greg. Him and my brother Greg both introduced me to football. Just following them around, watching them play, wanting to kind of be like them and mirror them. They were the first two that really introduced me to the game, playing out in the backyard, you know, just fooling around as a young kid. And then also, you know, growing up, you know, I grew up in Rubidoux, but I also grew up in Casablanca and on the east side of Riverside too. So when I played in Riverside, man, like everywhere I went over my grandma's house, I had two grandmas, one on the east side, one in Casablanca as well. So when I used to go over there, you know, I always played with all my friends. You know, we'd be playing in the street, playing football. So I mean, it wasn't a day that we wasn't getting a game in outside, you know. So that's when I first really got introduced to football.
So you decided to go to USC.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your time there.
Man, it was a great experience. You know, USC is a great school. You know, first and foremost, you know, they're a great academic school. You know, the education you can get from there is unparalleled to none. You know, so going there was an honor and a privilege. My older brother again had went there. Ryan had went there, had a great experience, and so I talked to him about it. And he was the one that kind of really encouraged me to go to SC because at the time, you know, Washington had just won a national championship. And I was actually going to go to UW because I didn't really like Larry Smith at that time. But like I think like 2 or 3 weeks right before the national signing day, they fired Larry Smith and hired John Robinson. Mm-hmm. And he ended up kind of resurrecting the SC program back because we ended up having with 2 weeks left, we ended up having the #1 recruiting class in the nation that year, which was crazy. But everybody, you know, switched from going from other schools to SC, you know, because J-Rob went ahead and put his name on as the head coach at USC.
Yeah, that's good stuff because I know, you know, growing up, you talk about Ryan, right? Mm-hmm. Diehard USC fan. Anybody that knows me knows that I rocks with my Trojans. And right. And truth be told, the reason why I am a diehard USC fan, of course, growing up in Riverside, but also it's Ryan. Right. You know, I remember watching Ryan on TV, you know, and playing with USC, and that was, you know, I was young, I was real young then, right. But that was my first experience, and it was just crazy to see him on TV, and of course, you know, all the time seeing him at church and stuff like that, but it was just. That's when I became a USC fan and just been a diehard ever since.
Man, speaking of which, how many good games did we have right after church, right
after church on the front line? Absolutely.
Right in front in the grass area where we all used to play, me, you, your brother, and everybody else. And we used to play out there for about 30 minutes while the parents would talking all day. We
church clothes.
We go ahead and get the ball out and just play right there. And man,
hey.
I can tell you the hardest man to try to catch was that guy right there, Speedy Gonzalez. Man, flying. So you already know.
Yeah, man. That those are times you'll never forget, right?
Never
And
forget.
I, when you think about the talent that was just on, like, all these cars that are driving by that may have seen that game.
Yeah.
That was a lot of talent just in that
Oh,
particular area
yeah.
of on at Lincoln Avenue
Right.
that was just amazing.
Yeah. No doubt.
Hey man,
Absolutely.
hey, Jesus could have went to USC. Go blue.
You gonna get that in there, huh? You just
That's
gonna throw that
Right.
in
I get it, cuz I mean, but
I
like I
don't want
said,
to
is
yeah, I just want to throw them in
yeah,
there. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm always gonna
we were
rock with
supposed to
my
play. We were
with my
supposed to play Michigan
Trojans.
in the Rose Bowl, but they didn't end up making it. I think it was Northwestern ended up making it that year.
Okay. All right.
That's when
Gotcha.
they had Darnell Autry. Yeah,
Oh, Darnell Autry.
yeah,
Gotcha.
Darnell Autry. Yeah, I mean, for
Yeah,
sure.
but I'm not even gonna talk about when we busted Michigan head in the Rose Bowl. But we're not gonna bring that up when they had Mike
Matter of
Williams.
fact, you know what? It wasn't Michigan. It was Ohio State. Sorry to say that. It was supposed to be Ohio State at that time. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, that's common. For sure. All right. So you had a very productive college career. Uh, Entering the draft.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Can you tell us about that experience and your NFL experience?
Man, entering a draft was I was a senior. I was a senior when I came out. Last year was thinking I was probably going to be drafted in probably anywhere from about like I thought anywhere from like the second to the fourth or fifth round, anywhere from there, based upon especially from my play. And then going to the combine though, what happened was, man, I actually missed my flight to the combine, bro. I missed my flight to the combine. And at that time, we weren't really cell phone heavy or anything like that, and the flights were different. So I couldn't catch like the next flight. All the flights were sold out. So I had to wait to go the next day. I couldn't go to the combine to the next day. So what happened was I had to take my combine. You had to do like this Cybex test. It was like this test that you get on this machine, and it kind of wears your legs out. I had to get on this test. I had to take this Cybex test and then run my 40. And so I ended up running a bad 40, and that kind of killed me. I ran a decent 40 when I back when they came back to the pro day, but that bad rap was already out on me because I never was like a really speed guy anyway. So it was just one of those things. But that kind of hurt me. And then also my senior year, my junior year, I played safety. And I switched to linebacker because we had so many good DBs at SC. They were like, "Hey, we want to have the approach where everybody's doing right now. Let's get all the faster players on the field. We can put it like play like nickel every down." And so I played like a nickel back. I played like a rover position like my senior year. So I would be in the box some, I'd be out covering the slot, and then I'd move around the back safety. And so our defense was really good, but our offense was struggling that year. And so we didn't end up having a great year. Defense, we balled out though, and that ended up ultimately hurting my draft stats because when we got to the combine and we got to draft day, everybody wasn't sure whether I was going to be a linebacker or a safety. Like it wasn't cool to play multiple positions back then. It was like a problem, So it was just one of those things. But I knew who was ultimately in control, God. So it ended up working out for me.
Yeah, that was pretty cool because I remember a guy at my school. Actually, I guess you guys were there together. He was a linebacker. His name was Madi Invita Kazadi from Tulsa,
Yeah.
University of Tulsa.
Yeah.
And because here's the thing is when he finally met you, because
Mm-hmm.
I had been talking because I was sitting there watching and I would wear USC stuff around campus and they just hated that. And I was just like, oh man, no, man, my Chris was there, you were
Right.
there, and so and he was just like, man, you don't know Sammy. And I was just like, man, that's fam. And he was just like, man, whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
so when he finally met you and saw, he was just like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I guess you do, but he was just like, because he thought you were a baller watching you play, and I
Mm-hmm.
believe it was that Notre Dame game where you caught that insane interception,
Mm-hmm.
and ran that, and so that was that it was I just those little memories was
Mm-hmm.
just I mean something that's a staple in my college career. So,
Right.
but yeah, that putting you at linebacker, I think that definitely hurt your stat because I liked you at safety. I always thought that you would be a safety in the pros, which you were.
Mm-hmm.
But I think not knowing whether he's a linebacker or a safety definitely hurt your stock.
Yeah, it probably did, but I can tell you personally, it was the best decision I ever could have made because I learned so much more about the game and I understood the game and it prepared me for the NFL. You know what I mean? That's the crazy thing about it. Like God already knew, man. Hey, you going to the linebacker, man. This is going to put you in a position to where you learn more about the game, you know more about the game, and when you do go back to safety, you'll see it from a whole different picture. And so it allowed me when I got to the NFL, I knew how the linebackers would fit. I knew where the safety should fit. And then, you know, when you're playing linebacker, you got to know where the D linemen go. So it gave me a great understanding of the whole defense and how it operated, you know, calling plays and different things. And, you know, just the relationship the linebacker has with the coordinator, you're a lot closer. So, you know, you're really studying offenses more. So it gave me, it opened up my eyes to being a much more knowledgeable football player.
Well, speaking of that, 28 picks in 5 seasons during your New Orleans tenure.
Mm-hmm.
Ball hawk. No other way to put it. You know, what do you credit to those picks? Film study, play calling, quarterback staring down a receiver, or
you know what? I credit you know the first couple years I played free safety. So you know my rookie year, right? You know, I came in, I was a big safety, you know, I'm like 225, you know, almost, you know, 230, you know what I mean? So for me, I was like a linebacker / safety. So when I came in, I was playing like the strong safety, you know, the bigger strong safeties that they had back in the day. So when I came in, I was a strong safety, but Willie Shaw, who was my defensive back coach at the time, knew that I understood defense, you know, and he was just like, you tackle, you understand defense, you can play, you know what I mean? So the safeties were just starting to become interchangeable. You know, you'd be in deep middle. Earlier on, the safety that was in the box would be in the box all the time. Or the safety that was on the strong side, wherever the tight end went, you just go. But, you know, as the game evolved around that time, they were allowing people to play kind of both. And for me, you know, I could do both. So I started doing both because, you know, I was trying to get on the field. And I was also trying to just make the team at that time. So I was like, yo, I know both these positions. Hell, I know linebacker too if you need me to. You know what I mean? I give you whatever you want. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you need a DN, I got you, you know? So at that time, I was just trying to, you know, show them that I knew everything and kind of like, you know, pointing out in meetings like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do that. And I was able to gain this confidence. And so I'll never forget, like it was like the third or fourth game of the season, man. We played Detroit in New Orleans, man. And when I tell you Barry Sanders was playing, oh my goodness, man, we're playing. Hey, bro, I promise you, I think Barry Sanders had everybody talks about Barry Sanders, but until you see it live, man, you know, I used to play video games back home and everything. You like, man, I'm using Barry. I'm gonna spin, hit that OB button and spin and everything, man, bro. When I saw it live, and I remember that week preparing for, we were preparing for it, and you know, we were running this coverage. It was like a cover one coverage, and basically what it was is, you know, what John Lynch made famous, the safety's coming down in the box, and he's one-on-one with the running back, and so it's like, oh man, the running back's got nowhere to go. He's right in the hole. You should just kill him. And our free safety was like, that whole week, man, he kept being late. He kept being late down to the hole. He would come down late, and Willie Shaw was like, "Hey man, you got to get down in the hole, man. This is Barry Sanders," and he was kind of a little cocky. He was like, "Yo, man, I got him, man. This is Barry Sanders. I'm about to kill him, man. When I tell you Barry Sanders, man, bro, he would. So we get to the game. We run the coverage, man. The first time, you know, he gets down a little late. Man, Barry Sanders hit him with that Sierra, that 1-2 step, and got out of there, man. It was over with, man. Hey, yeah. I think he went 85. Barry went 85. You know, the backside corner pulled up. He couldn't go get him. You know, Barry in the end zone, but they called it back. We got lucky and they called it back. So to make a long story short, man, Barry had a run for like 85 and he had another one for like 60, 68 on that coverage. And the free safety was tripping. I was like, man, hey, bro, like that's Barry Sanders. You ain't got a chance. You know, you're thinking that in the meeting, but I was like, man, you better get down there early, man.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to watch, man. Hey, and he just didn't embarrass just a couple cats. We had Ron Woodson on here.
Oh, man,
what's that?
Hey, Barry give you that sell, man. He give you that 2-for-1 all day, bro. He gonna get 2 people for the price of one. Hey, a DB and a safety and a linebacker. You know, he give you what you want, man. Whatever.
We had Ron Woodson on here, and he kind of strayed away from that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, hey, you know, I'm sure a lot of people have been victims, you know what I mean, to Barry Sanders. There's no shame in that. You know, he's probably the hardest guy, I'm sure, to tackle. Fortunately for me, I didn't play him. You know, at that game though, that was it. So the very next game, the very next week, I think Barry, to close it out though, Barry, he ended up with like 160 that game or something like that. And the very next week, you know, the coach, he was really frustrated with that free safety. And so, you know, during the week, he was just, you know, talking to him the whole week. Now, mind you, I had no reps at free safety. You know, I'm just like doing some strong safety stuff, you know, and then right before the game, we play the Giants that week in New York. Right before the game, he comes up to me like, bruh, this is like, we warm up and everything. And then like right before the game, like about 15 minutes, he was like, yo, you're starting today. And I'm like, I'm starting today. And our strong safety was like Anthony Newman. So I'm thinking like, man, I was like, why am I starting over Anthony? You know, like, man, Anthony Newman's a baller. What happened? He goes, nah, you're starting at free safety. And I said, what? He said, yeah. He said, you're starting at free safety today. He said, I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want you worried or anything, or I didn't want anybody else worried. But you're starting at free safety today. I know you can do it. I know you know the coverages. I know you know it all. Go out and ball. And so, man, I went out, man. I ended up having, I think, like maybe 8 or 10 tackles and a pick that game. And the rest is history, bro. I was starting at free safety from there on, you know. But I played free safety for like in my first 2 or 3 years. And then that's when they moved me back to strong safety. But yeah, man.
And one, I want to pull something out of that. And it was something you said without having to actually say it, is you all, well, one, I mean, is knowing you as long as I've known you, you know, my whole life pretty much. It's people like, you have to have the right attitude when you get moved to a different position, right? I've seen players get moved to another position and they pretty much give up. It's just like, man, you know, that's not the position I wanted to play. And you know, and I tell my son that, right? Like now he's playing a position he doesn't necessarily want to play, but I was like, no, son, you learn every position. Right. If you're playing, if you're on the line and you're offensive line and you're and you want to play defensive line, learn everything you can about the offensive line so that when you get on the defensive line, you understand how people move. The thing is that all that, you know, it was a blessing that you got moved to linebacker while you were at SC, because that is what really, you know, propelled you in the pros. That's what, you know what I'm saying? No, I mean,
no doubt.
Yeah. And so the thing is that as players, you're going to be shifted around depending on where the coach thinks you're the best fit and the best fit for the team and whatnot, but embrace that, because you never know when that's going to come back to really be a blessing for you because of what you know.
Yeah. A perfect example of that is there's when I was coaching at SC, man, we had so many wide receivers who would come there like their first year, and then they have to play special teams. And they'd be like, oh, man, I ain't playing no special teams. I'm not, you know, and they don't understand, man. If you're not the top 2 receivers at the team in the NFL, if you're not playing special teams, you ain't going to make it.
Right.
And so, like, it's a blessing, bro, for you to learn special teams as an offensive player at a young age in college and to play special teams, because that's the one thing that's going to set you apart when you get to the NFL and you're fighting to make a roster in order to show yourself so that you can shine and be the number 1 receiver. You know, a lot of guys never get that opportunity. Joe Horn was a hell of a special teams player before he turned into the receiver that he was. There's so many stories of receivers
Terrell Davis.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, and they would have never got that opportunity had they not embraced special teams. So, you know, that's just one aspect of it, and everybody's road is different. But, you know, you always got to be open to everything, and because it's an opportunity for you to grow.
Man, Ricky Porter shared some very positive things about you, man. So everything that you experienced, all the achievements that you had, you know, it was, you know, produced from being just, you know, a solid dude, man. Who had the biggest influence on you career-wise?
Career-wise? Oh, man, my dad. just career-wise, my dad, man. My dad is, man, if you know him, man, he's 100, man. My dad, just like, he's a straight shooter, you know what I mean? He's always been supportive, but just a straight shooter, man. Like, hey, if I'm not looking good or I'm lacking or I'm tripping, you know, he's like, hey, man, you got to get your stuff together. hey, you gotta work harder, or you gotta do this, or you gotta do that. And it wasn't in a negative way. It was like, hey man, look, if you want to do this, then you need to do that. You need to jump more rope, or you need to work, you need to work harder. What's funny is that, man, he was always like my biggest supporter too, because I was just talking to him the other day. I got daughters that play sports and play soccer, and they get after it. And so I was talking to him about, my daughters, going through different things, competing and challenging and stepping up. And I'm talking to him like, Dad, it wasn't like that for me. I was grinding. I was, man. He was like, hey Sam, you know what? I remember I came out to your practice that freshman year when you were at SC, and he was like, man, I just was praying for you. I was like, my gosh. He said Johnny Morton was turning you around so much out there, and and them guys, Kenny Grace and those guys. And I'll never forget, man, we had when I got to SC my freshman year, we had the fastest, I promise you, it had to be the fastest wide receiver group of all time, man. We had unbelievable speed on that. We had Ed Hervey, who had just beat Michael Johnson in the 200. You know what I mean? We had Kenny Grace, who ran like 10-1, Then we had Jay Mose running 4-3, I'm sorry, 4-4. You know what I mean? We had like an Anthony Volson who ran 10-2 in high school. I mean, if you look at that bio down the line, it was unbelievable, man. It was just like everybody was running 10-1, 10-2 and under. I promise you, everybody, like about 6 receivers, everybody was ran track. And if they didn't, they were just unbelievable running 4-3 anyway. So, yeah. You go through experiences like that and you kind of just forget, man, how hard it was for you and struggles you had. And so, I mean, he was my biggest supporter for sure.
So, you're still using tampons or pads, huh? I get it. I mean, they've been around for decades. But you know what else has been around for a lot longer? Innovation, buddy. You can stick with hygiene products from your grandma's era. Or you can ditch the tampons and switch to Femi Secret's Pretty Panty. It's period protection that you wear, but the innovation doesn't stop there. Chemical-free, biodegradable, and FDA approved. But ooh, there's more bitches. For $9 a month, we send you a box of Pretty Panties right to your door so that you always have protection. Protected! Stop wasting time. Subscribe today and get your ultimate period protection with Femi Secret's Pretty Panty.
Well,
absolutely. And it's crazy because
hold on one second. Cause let me ask this. Knowing your pops, he was an athlete as well, right?
Yeah. He played basketball.
Tell us about your pops, man.
He played basketball for Jerry Tarkanian at RCC at Riverside. He came from Ohio, man. He came from Cleveland, Ohio at 17, out of high school, got a scholarship out here to come to JC, because back then, we wasn't going to all the Michigans and Ohio States, at that time, just only a few. So for him, the opportunity was presented to him to come out to California, come out west and get a scholarship and play ball. And the coach that recruited him at that time was Jerry Tarkanian, the UNLV running Rebel coach.
Absolutely.
And so he came out here for them, and they came out and they won like the first state championship in the school history. And it was a great, that's when he met my mom. Yeah.
We just wanted to show him a little love, man. We like to shine light on positive Black fathers,
I appreciate it, no doubt.
Oh, absolutely. Uncle Sam, when Sammy's sitting there talking about it, man, he could make you feel like you were 10 feet tall, right? Mm-hmm. Like I remember when I was young and running track, and I remember Uncle Sam, he used to call me the Rocketeer. That movie had just came out, and he used to call me the Rocketeer. And man, you don't understand what it does for a kid who because at that time I was just getting I'd only been running track for maybe a year and a half at this point, but I was I was starting to get really good at it. I wasn't I hadn't lost a race yet, and it just seemed like I just kept winning, and I guess because I grew up around so many athletes, I didn't know we were all that good, to be honest with you. But man, I remember just having conversations with him, and he made me feel like I could beat anybody, I could do anything. So I can imagine growing up in the Knight household, how he made you guys feel, because the time that I got to spend, the conversations that I got to have with him, he made me feel like I was 10 feet tall every single time.
No doubt. No doubt.
I just, I know he'll see this, so I just wanted him to know that, he does represent Black excellence and Black history at its
Absolutely.
finest.
No doubt.
Absolutely. A whole family though. That's how it was so supportive, especially, and that whole group, like at our church and everything,
Right.
that was such a big support group for all of us.
Right. For all of us, for sure. Yeah.
Speaking of church, what role does spirituality and religion play in your career?
Well, it played everything, man, because I think like I was talking about, you have in sports, you're always going to have ups and downs. You're going to have positive days, negative days, but the one constant in my life has been Christ. Even in my ups and downs, even when I've been good and bad, you know what I mean? Like throughout everything, he's always been there, and try and lean on that for strength, for me. And that's been that's been part of my life, my whole life. I've always gone to church, since I was little. That was kind of ingrained in me. And then then you go through those periods where you get to college where you might not be going to church as much, but you still have that in your heart, the word in your heart. And that's the most important thing, is trying to have that when you have those difficult times, what do you lean back on, and choosing to follow the word, that's what it is.
Yeah, and I can definitely say that it was easy for me to see that was something that you constantly led with throughout your whole life, right? And then the base that we grew up on, we had some prayer warriors, we had some strong Christians in our stable. So it was easier for us to be able to continue to hold on to Christ, even in those bad times, or even in those times when you got so many things going on. You can always call home, call grandma, or you can call mom and dad, and they'll pray for you, say a good word for you, send a scripture to you, and you good.
Yeah, and encourage you, because you know how it is. Once you leave home, it's a wrap. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna be out there. You're gonna be out there doing things you shouldn't be doing, and everybody's experienced it. And then you need prayer. You need prayer. You need encouragement. You need guidance. And that's constant. You know what I mean? So it's just a matter of you recognizing that, growing. Like the same thing in football. It's just about growth. You know what I mean? And growth and understanding, and allowing him to come in your life to lead you.
Well, paraphrasing, I mean, there is a scripture that says, how you raise them, that's what they will partake in once they leave and go into the world, ultimately.
Train up the child, no doubt.
Yep. And the way that he should go. Absolutely.
Yep. Sure.
Yeah. And one of the things I definitely, we talked about this last time, but I really want you to touch on this again, your decision to actually even go to New Orleans, because we talked about you being an undrafted free agent. And that decision process, to me, that's something that can't be said enough, just because I think that not enough thought goes into where a player should actually be, but you actually took that process. So explain that to us a little bit.
Well, it's funny because I can go a little bit more in depth than I did really the last time, especially since we're touching about spirituality, because I'll never forget, man, like, going undrafted for me, man, that was one of my lowest moments in my life, man. I could just be honest, man. Like, I was just, man, I was hurt when I didn't get drafted, bro. Because I'm really watching a lot of the guys, no disrespect, that went before me, but as a competitor, you're like, man, that guy went before me, that guy went before me. And I mean, like, for me, I thought I was one of the top safeties, so, to not get drafted at all, it's like, man, nobody thought I was good. Are you kidding me? Like, man, I was just like, man, oh man, I was feeling like Tupac back then. I was like, man, okay, I was like Tupac coming out of jail, man. I was like, I got to get everybody, man. That's what my mindset was, man. I'm coming for everybody, man. Like, nah, man, there's no way. And then, and so for me, at that moment, I was angry, I was hurt, I was upset. And so I'll never forget, because I was with my dad that Sunday, and he was just like, hey man, God has a plan, basically. And man, bro, I was crying, man. Hey, man, I was crying, bro. After that, I was like, man, he just put his arm around me, like, hey, man, let it all out. That's all right. Now you got to go to work, man. You know what I mean? And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna do it the old-fashioned way. I'm gonna go get mine the old-fashioned way. And we sat there and we prayed, man. That's the first thing we did is we prayed, man, and just, God, whatever your will is, let it be. And and then my agent called me and he was like, hey, every team in the NFL has reached out to me, which team do you want to go to? And he was just like, hey, we got to make a decision which team we want to go to because, they're bidding for you and they're throwing out some high numbers. And I was like, I just prayed again, like, hey, Lord, put me in the right position, put me in the right spot where you want me to be. And I thought about it and I just sat and thought about it and thought about it. And, I remember it was like the Cowboys, all these teams, right? And I'm like, man, the Cowboys have just won, and the Steelers and all these teams. And I was like, man, the Cowboys, they got Darren Woodson, man. I'm not coming in and starting over Darren Woodson or getting, come on, you kidding me? Darren Woodson is a baller. By the way, Darren Woodson needs to be in the Pro Bowl. Man, that's bananas why he's not in the Pro Bowl. That's the first thing that's crazy is Darren Woodson not in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was going through that process, the Steelers, Woodson and all these players, and you know what I mean, like corner, like, man, I'm like, man, I can't, and then Green Bay is like Leroy Butler. I'm like, man, come on, man, you kidding me, man? I'm not gonna go in and supplant those guys right away. I'm not gonna say I'm not confident, but man, that's just, it doesn't make sense, and they're deep, like they were deep. It wasn't just like Leroy Butler, you know what I mean? They had like a couple other guys too. So you're going in, you're competing versus veterans that are already there. And so in New Orleans, they didn't have as many. They had Anthony Newman and maybe one other safety. I can't remember at the time. But I was like, man, yeah, that's the place right there. That's a no-brainer. Let's go there because then you have an opportunity. It's about getting that opportunity. You have a better chance to have an opportunity. So
you would have had an opportunity in Detroit.
Oh man, hey man, but I didn't want to go to Detroit, man. I didn't want to go to Detroit.
Not the kids in Riverside, bro.
I don't know. I don't know. I had to think about who Detroit was. I mean, who had Detroit that time? But I think what it was. I think the biggest thing about the Saints that got me was that Mike Dick had called me personally and he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna give you every opportunity to play here." And that's I think what won me over because Detroit was one of the teams at the time. I was like, yeah, I could go out there. I could go out there and do some things too. But I think the Saints was like, when you got the head coach calling you and saying, hey, man, look, it's no jokes with me. Like who the best player is going to play. And that's all I wanted. I wanted the best. He's like, I don't care about the salary cap. He's like, basically, I am the GM. And he was like, how much you want to come in? I'm going to give you more than, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, hey, we really want you. We're going to give you an opportunity to play if you can show yourself that you can play. And that it truly happened. He was a man of his word when it came to that. So
at least we got Chris. At least we got Chris.
And,
yeah, no doubt, man, no doubt.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I just want to tell you that, or just say that this pop-in is sponsored by Money for Your Mission Inc. And we talked earlier about how your big brother Ryan influenced you in going to USC because that's where he played ball. Now you had another big brother that played big time D1 football as well. And that was Greg. And so we thought we'd bring Greg on with us and talk about how Greg influenced you. Greg or Sammy?
Greg influenced me. I at that time, the funny thing about it is out of my older brothers, out of my brothers, I probably spent more time with Greg. Because Ryan was the oldest. Ryan left right away. And so when Ryan left, I was like, oh man, this is great. I got a room to myself. You know what I mean? I'm good. And so I used to always go and hang out with Greg. And so Greg took me under his wing, and he was always a big brother. And Greg was a lineman. Greg was big. Greg was the most athletic of us all. That's the craziest thing that people don't understand. Like Greg was the most athletic Knight brother. I'll never forget, man. One of my proudest moments was Greg had went away for about 5-6 years because he was in Colorado. And, we didn't have FaceTime back then. And, I talked to him on the phone. He'd come home for the summer, but he was really gone a lot. Ryan was like 35 minutes, 40 minutes away. So he would come home every now and then a weekend. But when Greg left, Greg was like gone.
Yeah.
So the funniest thing about it was Greg came back, he came back one summer, and this is after like both his knee injuries and everything. And he was like, "Hey, baby boy, man, like, that was like my nickname, and lunch meat. They used to call me lunch meat and baby boy." And so he used to race me, right? And I mean, he said, "Oh man, I heard you really good in football now. You balling and everything. All right." I said, I heard you killing people. So let's race, man. Let me see what you got. Man, we raced about 30 yards. When I mean to tell you, he smoked me, like, bruh, I couldn't believe it, man. I mean, he smoked me. And look, it was so bad. It was so bad. Greg was laughing at me. And he was like, just laughing at me, running. He's like, "Sammy," he's like, "Man, you are slow." And I was like, "Oh man, hey, brother." Like that was one of the moments I was like, "Man, I got to get on this track. I got to get running." And that from there on, I ran track, man. I was like, "I got to get on this track, man." That was an eye opener because I thought it was so cold, man. But when he put them jets on me, man, that was a wrap. I was like, I gotta reevaluate myself, man.
Was that the last race?
Yeah, that was the last race. That's the last race I do. I didn't do races. I don't do no races, man. I gotta stay in my lane.
That was my territory. I'd race anybody, anytime, anywhere. That's what I did.
Oh, you know that, man. And I hoop with you, but I don't race, man. I don't do no races no more.
Greg got that over you for the rest of your lives.
Absolutely. Sure. Greg, how you doing, good sir?
I'm doing great, man. Well, look, Hassan, first of all, thank you for letting me join this moment with my baby bro, Sammy. I did not get to join earlier because I'm at my job. I'm in my office, so I'm not on video. Just had a meeting with some employees. But maybe the one thing I want to say is just how proud I am of my baby brother, Sam, that he's been the most successful of all of us in his football journey. And I just have mad respect for him. One of the things that most people don't know about Sammy is, most people know about his obvious accomplishments on the field, but he's the best dad, husband, and just all around person. And so more than a great athlete, Sammy's just a great guy. And there isn't anyone better that you wouldn't want to have as your brother. And so with that, I just really thank you for letting me join. And so, yeah, we pushed him, and I'm so proud of what he was able to accomplish.
Absolutely. No, I concur with everything you just said. Like I said, Sammy has always been, he's always been humble, right? And honestly, yep. Let me see. Look, maybe not so much Daryl or Ryan as far as the humble part, but I mean, for the most part, it happens somewhere when you got that much talent. And I just want to put out there to the audience, guys, you want to talk about Black excellence. You have 4 brothers and one sister. Now let's not leave out Tina. And all of them were ballers. All of them were absolutely ballers. You have 3 of them that go and play at SC, and then Greg went over to Colorado and played for the played at a big time D1 program. And it's just that there's when we talk about Black excellence in as far as raising a family, you guys had the a perfect picture of what raising a family should look like with your mom and dad, and getting to see what the support looks like. Because one thing that you guys never had to worry about was support from your family. So
yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's when I think of a family that's had excellence in every field. Because Greg, although you say Sammy was the most successful, I mean, the things that you're doing now, I'd say that you guys are all successful in your own ways. It just, Sammy may have been the most successful sports wise, but I mean, you're really doing some big things right now. So definitely want to take my hat off to you as well.
No doubt. I mean, like we were raised in a great environment, man. First and foremost, I got to give props to my mom.
Absolutely.
Man, you know what I mean? Because she stayed at home and she really held it down as far as making sure we were doing everything from a day-to-day standpoint. You know what I mean? My mom, I mean, the sacrifices that she made for us, you can never repay that. And her just constantly being on you, and let me say, my mom might have been the hardest one on all of us. You know what I mean? As far as
not on Blanche. Not on Blanche.
No, okay. Now see, Hassan, he's younger than
don't
me.
Get fooled, man. She don't play. She didn't play about that. Like my mom, she's real laid back now, but she didn't play back then. You got to be hard to raise 4 boys. It can't be a nice, hey, I want you to sit down. I hope you do these things. No, you got to be very, very strict and very disciplined and detailed about what's going to happen here today. You know what I mean? So if you don't set the tone or the tempo at the house, it's a wrap, man. And I learned that at an early age with my mom. So I got to definitely give her props and always being supportive. And, you know, everything wasn't perfect, man. Like, you know, we weren't perfect, but what we always did have was their support and love no matter what. You know, when we made mistakes or when we, and to this day, you know, they're probably everyone, I can say probably each one of our biggest supporters, you know, and I think if you were asked Greg or asked Ryan or asked Daryl or asked Tina, they would probably say like my parents are my biggest supporters, you know.
Now, Hassan, I have a slightly different memory of this because Sammy is 8 years younger than me. Right. And we all know that the younger ones always get it easier.
Right.
My father, Sam Knight, was a Jedi. Let me assure you of that, okay? He did not play. I think Sammy and Daryl just got it easier. They don't remember his Jedi moments. But I would also be remiss to say that who started it all was my father. My father was really the first star athlete in the family, winning state championship with Riverside Community College and playing for Jerry Tarkanian. And Tarkanian wrote about my dad in his book, and my dad would go accept awards for Jerry. And so I think that athleticism really started with my father. He used to play basketball, pickup ball at like at the park or at RCC, and my dad would take me and Ryan there, and we would actually, that was our first influence and exposure to sports. And so yes, my mom was amazing because she was a stay-at-home mom, but my dad was Obi-Wan Kenobi, you know what I mean? So, but they both were, and then that's my extended family. You know, we're like family, Hassan. So you remember my grandmother and all my uncles and everybody who we really had a strong extended family too. And so I think it all just came together. And so I want to tell you one last story before I go, because I don't know if I ever told Sammy this or not, but when Sammy was playing with New Orleans, by that time I would lived in Houston and I would drive up for some of the games. And, you know, come Saturday night, he had to go to the hotel. Well, that was my opportunity to go toast the town in New Orleans. And they always thought I was Sammy Knight. And so, Sammy, if some things come up later, bro, I apologize, but I represented you well.
Hey, Greg, real quick. Last time I saw your mother, your father, and yourself, my mother was still alive. We were at Stacy's house. Yeah. Do you have a quick second to answer this question? I want to know you guys' viewpoints on this and how you feel about it.
Yeah.
All right. What is your stance on the players today being forced to take the vaccine?
That's a hard one for me because my personal opinion is I am vaccinated, and I happen to know growing up as a kid in my age group that we got the polio vaccine, we got chickenpox vaccines, we got measles vaccines. All of those things, you had to be vaccinated to go to school. And I didn't really see the COVID vaccine very different because, quite candidly, we have people at my workplace, and I know people who are dying from COVID and who have not been vaccinated. The way that I think about it is that it obviously is a personal choice. My thing is that trust your doctor. You know, if I had a heart issue and I went to my doctor and my doctor said, Mr. Knight, we need to open your chest right now and do open heart surgery, what am I going to say? Okay, you know what I mean? Or if I need a stent, or if I have diabetes, he's going to prescribe me a medicine. I don't, but if I did, he prescribed that to me and I would take it. So I understand the controversy, but find a doctor you trust, because I'm not an epidemiologist and I'm not a physician, but you know, that's who I'm trusting. And from when I'm talking to them, they're advising people to get the vaccine. There have been over 5 billion people that have taken it so far. So look, I know it's controversial. I can just share how I feel about it.
Absolutely. Sammy, what about you?
Well, I feel the same. You know what I mean? I think, you know, I think that the one thing that I would add on is, you know, generally, you know, most of these vaccinations and these mandatory vaccinations are coming from it's a personal issue, but it can affect others. You know what I
Right.
mean? If it was just, you know, if you had just asthma or something like that, that's personal to you. You know, you're not going to give me asthma. You know what I mean? So if you make that choice, that's fine. But if you could possibly pass it along to me, then that's a different story to me. So I mean, I'm vaccinated, obviously, but yeah, it is a personal issue, but it affects others, and I think that's just, you know, that's what we talk about in sports, being a good teammate, being a good neighbor as a Christian, you know what I mean? Try to do those things. Now, of course, there's an exception to the rule with everything. You know, if there are some people who can't take the vaccine because maybe they might have some adverse effect to that, that's the situation, or for religious reasons, then hey, there's no problem. But I think, you know, if you're a healthy American and you have the opportunity to take it and you can help your brother out, not only yourself out, but you can help your brother out, why not do it? You know, what is the trepidation? So, you know, that's my only thing. That's my personal feeling. You know, everybody has, that's why this is America. Everybody has the right to feel their own way. But I think that, you know, that's why this is one of the greatest countries in the world, because, you know, we do look out for one another. That's our motto, you know, in God we trust. And if we do trust in him, then we're going to look out for our neighbor.
Absolutely. No, I think both of you guys are right on, especially how I feel about it. I do think that I actually like the stance that the NFL has taken, the sports have taken, mainly because of the fact that it does affect other people. Like you said, you
Right.
deciding, it's not just a personal decision. It's
Right.
you deciding that, because if you get it, you can give it to me whether I'm vaccinated or not. And I don't
Right.
think that that's fair.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so,
You know, and especially because you never know what somebody else has going on. You know, you never know about what health issues I might have going on. Nobody's walking around saying, hey, I have, with a sign that says, hey, I just had cancer 6 months ago, or hey, I have, you know, I just had, you know, a double or triple bypass surgery last year. You know, nobody has that, so you can't just stay away from them. So you never
or my
know.
mom has cancer, or
Right.
my grandmother who lives with me. You see
Right.
what I'm saying? I mean, there's
Right.
so many different dynamics to this whole situation.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, we want to thank you guys for coming on, man. And Greg for coming on, and all the great insight that you gave us, man. We really appreciate you, cuz, man. Hey, and lunch meat was proper for you, man, because you was taking cats lunch meat all day.
Well, and look, everybody had nicknames back then. You
No
know what I'm
doubt,
saying?
man.
So yeah,
I had Blondie, lunch meat. They gave me everything, man.
Yeah,
yeah.
that
See
lunch
mine.
meat, dog, dude.
Yeah, now everybody just called me Hassi. Now
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
that's who I was. If you know you were family, or we lived in the same neighborhood, by how, because at school they called me Hassan, but everybody else they called me Hassi.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Lunch meat.
Hey guys, I want to also acknowledge you for creating the platform and the conversation, because you know, if you're not doing what you're doing, then this sort of network and these stories don't get out. So I think that, you know, you get a pat on the back for creating the opportunity for us to come together, especially as Black men, and to share, you know, these stories that aren't about, you know, who got shot yesterday, you know.
Right.
So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And just
go ahead, Sammy.
Just having a successful season, you know, just from where you guys started to where you are now and where you're gonna go, man. I mean, it's been great just sitting back, watching you guys grow and develop, and the show grow, and the relationships that you guys are building throughout the community, and the respect that you've garnered in such a short amount of time just speaks to the volumes of hard work that you put in, and the trust that you put in God as well. Because, you know, I have a lot of buddies who are in the business and they haven't taken off as fast as you guys have. So just got to salute you and congratulations, and keep repping, man.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
man. Hey, we got to represent this family just as good as you guys do, man. We're
Absolutely.
all one unit. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead, Oscar.
Yeah, and before we jump off though, because we're gonna have to do another show, guys, with all the Knight brothers on here, and maybe even get you know, Uncle Sam or Aunt Blanche, one of them, one or both of us, like, you know, it's just, you know, because I think people need to hear this story, how things went on, and Greg, you know, your story is one of those that I think happens often, but is not talked about as much, because you turned your incredible talent to play the game of football into an education that propelled you into professional excellence. Right. And so I think that's definitely something that needs to be talked about more than it actually does get talked about.
Yeah, we have more talent that extends beyond the field if we tapped
Absolutely.
into it and we apply that same discipline through different, frameworks. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, guys, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You go ahead, cuz. Close it out.
No, I just want to thank you guys for coming on here. Greg, I know you got a lot going on, and so I appreciate you being able to get on at the last minute and just be able to share a little bit about your little brother. It was definitely great reminiscing with you guys about my days back in Riverside at Lincoln Avenue.
Yeah.
And you guys are always, like I said, we got to get you guys back on the show again. But as you know, as I will say, Sammy, where we are now, you are our first guest, right?
Yeah.
And so I appreciate you being the person that you are. Greg spoke to it. I spoke to it. Anybody who's listening to this that knows you knows the type of person that you are, because your reputation precedes itself. And so I just want to thank you for being who you are.
All right, man. Thank you. Same goes back to you, both of you guys, man. I mean, we known each other for years, man. Got mad love and respect for both of you, man. I only wish you guys continued success, man. I love watching the show, and I can't wait to continue to see how your platform grows and how you guys just keep sharing these stories and evolving.
Yeah, man. Just to add to that, without you and your agreement to do that interview, it wouldn't have held the validity, and we would not have the momentum that we were able to attain. So Thank you, man. I really appreciate you.
No problem. But you know, it wasn't me, man. You know who it was.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Right,
well, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And again, thank you guys for joining us on ASAP Elite Podcast.
All right, guys.
Welcome to the family, but y'all,
No doubt, man.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, y'all be blessed.
All right, you too.
Well,
wow.
From the very first interview to now our very last interview, you know what I'm saying? Our last interview.
At least the last one that we've done.
Yeah, the last, exactly.
Up to now. Don't think that this is the last interview that we're gonna do. It's just the last one we've done.
I don't mean that. But the latest.
The latest. There we go.
Yeah, man. I'm still in awe, man. Just everything he was able to accomplish. You know, Greg also, pretty much the entire family, man. And the way they're able to, they're just great people, man. And I just appreciate them for coming on and everything that they do for us, man. And good deal.
Yeah, man. I have to say it was. I never get tired of having those type of conversations. And the thing is I can really say that unit back in Riverside, California, that was a village, man. I mean, it really was. And they celebrated all of us. Nobody, like, we had all these different athletes that came through, the family and through the church and all of that. But nobody felt slighted because they celebrated every last one of us. So I just want to say, to all my family back in Riverside, I appreciate you guys, because the person that I am today has a lot to do with everything that you guys poured into me. So I love you guys, and I can't say enough. Shout out to Lincoln Avenue Church of Christ. That's where we grew up, had plenty of games of football and just some good word and some good teaching. And I can't say enough about my family back in California.
Hey, in addition to that, man, I know Lovey is watching this and tripping out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. My auntie.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, well, here we go, Haas. Another great show, with essence and everything, man. The just ingredients, just beautiful, man. I really appreciate you for being here, cuz. Hey, till next week. We'll see you later on ASAP Elite.